You can spend hours looking for answers when coding, or you can use the right tools from the start. In this video I'll show you the resources that save me the most time in .NET, going from the general questions you might have to the most complex problems that even after research you still can't seem to solve. Whenever I'm getting into a brand new topic, I almost always start with YouTube. The reason is that if done well, YouTube videos compress and synthesize a lot of information that would take you much longer to piece together on your own. Instead of reading through dozens of pages of documentation, you can get an overview of what's important and what's not worth your time. Over time, you'll also start to recognize creators whose content really helps you. Once someone has guided you through a topic, you naturally go back to their videos the next time you're trying to learn something new. And the process becomes even more efficient. Now, the first ranked videos in YouTube search results, which is usually where you start, tend to be the most watched or the ones people spend the most time on, so in theory they should be useful, but that's not always the case. Sometimes the content is outdated or it's simply not what you were looking for. That's why over time you start to value the channels you've already liked in the past. Now, when it comes to specifics like the exact syntax of something, I always go to Microsoft Docs. For example, let's say I want to connect my ASP.NET Core application to a database. The official documentation gives me the exact code snippets and setup steps I need. It's also the first place I check when a new .NET version comes out, so I can see what's changed or what's been added. That said, documentation can sometimes feel overwhelming. Certain sections read like they're written in a completely different language, and it can take a while to get what you actually need out of them, but despite that, it's still the most reliable source. Everything we've talked about so far covers learning, but what about when something actually breaks? When I run into an issue in my code, whether it's a strange bug, a logic error I can't spot, or even just a syntax problem that doesn't make sense, the first thing I do is Google it. Most of the time that leads me to Stack Overflow threads where other developers have run into the exact same issue, and usually there are a couple of solutions posted that either fix the problem directly or at least point me in the right direction. These days, Google even gives you AI-generated answers right at the top of the page from Gemini. Sometimes those summaries are enough to solve the issue immediately, which is convenient because it saves you time when that happens. If Google and Stack Overflow don't get me to a solution, that's when I turn to AI tools like ChatGPT or Gemini. Personally, I use ChatGPT more often, but I find Gemini useful as well. The key with these tools is how much context you give them. If you just paste an error message, you might not get what you were looking for. But if you share the surrounding code or even the main parts of the file where the error happens, the answers become much more useful. One feature I've been using more recently is the deep research option in ChatGPT. It takes a few minutes, but it actually goes out and searches the web in more depth, pulling information from different websites and resources for similar issues. More often than not, it gives you a much more thorough explanation, along with links to the sources it's drawing from. And last but definitely not least, asking people. This is something I didn't take advantage of when I first started, and honestly I wish I had. The truth is, no matter how unique you think your difficulties are, chances are you're not the first person to run into them. Someone else has already dealt with it or at least knows where to point you. If you don't have people at work, school, or in your friend group who you can ask, there are plenty of online communities. And there are tons of them, from free ones like Discord channels, Reddit forums, or Facebook groups, to paid ones where you'll usually get more direct help and personalized attention, which is worth considering. I also created my own group, .NET Squad, just throwing it out there, which is a place to share issues with your code, ask for help or guidance, and connect with others like you. But whichever community you join, the main point is this: get faster help and don't go through it alone. Most of these communities have a search bar where you can look up what you're stuck on. Chances are your question has already been asked and answered before. If not, obviously, then go ahead, post your question, engage, and start a conversation. So those are my favorite resources and tools as a .NET web developer. They've changed over time, and I've learned which ones are the most efficient for me, but I'd love to hear from you. What are your go-to resources? Let me know in the comments, and if you're just getting started with .NET and you want a clear guide, I've got a video on the screen right now that walks you through how to go about it. So go ahead and click on it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you there.